Hi, everyone, and welcome to Arts Alive. I'm surrounded by the group here. Calamity, I want to say Jane, but I know it's Brain. So, Brian Valcourt?
Yes.
Very good. I got one name straight. That's great. So we're going to talk about how you came by this name.
My mom was dyslexic. And when I was born, I was supposed to be a girl. And they had a girl's name picked out, but they didn't have a boy's name picked out. So she went through the book of names, and she got the Brian. I giggled. She went through a second time, no reaction. She got the Brian. I giggled again. So she named me Brian. But because my mom was dyslexic, when she filled out the birth certificate, she spelled it Brain instead of Brian.
You know, I
so
think I
didn't find
recently,
out until I was 26 years old.
and I think I recently heard this story from Ron Valcourt. Would that be right?
That would be my dad.
Yeah. It's a great story.
And,
yeah.
So, we found my baptismal records, whatever, and got it changed back legally,
Yeah.
so we didn't have to go to court and everything. But, these guys all have heard that story, and we were sitting, when we first started forming, and I think it was Thatcher just came out
Thatcher.
with, the Calamity Brain, because 4 of the 6 of us are left-handed. And I think we're all pretty much ADHD, so it's kind of goes with the whole,
With the theme of the title of the group.
And also our repertoire is all across the map too. So we play songs from all different. So it's kind of describes the band very well. We feel.
Well, let's hear some music.
All right.
You ready, guys? Okay.
We'll do a little something a little funky. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna take the long road, I can't help it. Sometimes you got to wonder just to get it. Hold up inside this place forever wondering. Don't wanna stop the rain, I love that country. But I got a way of talking. And in my way, this train don't stop for nothing. I got a way of hoping. Ain't gonna stop the way I'm just walking. And I'm hoping down too far, too long. I cannot breathe. I can't see the pain no more. And I gotta believe I'm dreaming. Sometimes I feel like life is just a temple, caught in a storm of worry, work and fate. Holding on hope for something so much better. Nothing to lose, I got to crash that gate. 'Cause I got a way of talking. Don't get in my way, this train don't stop for nothing. I got a way of hoping. I ain't gonna stop no way, no, I'm just walking. And now, hoping down too far, too long. I cannot breathe. I can't feel the pain no more. I gotta believe I'm dreaming.
So we have Calamity Brain, and I'd like an opportunity for each of these young men to talk about themselves a little bit and how they came to join the group and their passion and love for music, which we're always promoting and hoping that our younger generation coming along will grow into and loving as much as these guys do. So why don't we just start right here with you? You don't mind, you know? You don't want to introduce yourself again?
Charlie Huntington. I've been playing around the area for about 60 years.
That's a while, Charlie.
Yeah, and I play in several other bands. I'm good friends with Wally. He came down one day and said, I got a great band I've been playing with, and would you like to come down and do a little jamming with us? And so that was about a year ago, and so I've been doing that.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're one of the regulars now with Calamity.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Till they get tired of me.
Oh, I don't think they will.
That ain't gonna happen for a while.
Okay.
Do I get to hold it?
You sure do,
Oh.
yeah.
I'm Wally Zumbo, and my son Thatcher, we've been playing together since he was playing on pots and pans on the floor. And so we have this nice connection, and he asked me to come and play with them, and it's been a peak experience
Oh, good.
in my life,
Yeah.
playing with these guys.
I just have one quick question. That's a somewhat unusual name, Zumbo. Did you have some people in the family that played the accordion at all? You did?
My cousins.
Your cousins,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I remember the Zumbo sisters. Was it? Yeah, they were great. Really, yeah.
Wrigley.
Goes back a long, long time. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay, so do you want to take it from there, Jim?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jim Padilla. I've been playing bass since I was like 15 years old. I've, being a military family, moved all over the place, so I really didn't get into a band solid, you know.
But you booked a lot of bands.
Booked a lot of bands at Water Street, yeah. But I met Brian, like he had mentioned before. I invited him to come to the jams, and he was very aloof about it. And then one night he popped in, and we ended up sitting till 3 o'clock in the morning talking about this band that he has doing original, which is always something I always wanted to do, was be able to be creative in that fashion. And at the same time, the guitar player, Ricky Tabbitt, had told me, he's my wife's cousin, and he had told me that, a couple of times he said, I got this band I think you really fit in well with. And he said, why don't you come down next Sunday? I said, okay. And in the meantime, I had told him, he had invited me down to, come down at some point. And I said, okay. Well, I came down.
The same band.
Having no idea.
And it was
that
the same band.
band.
And
Yeah.
it was just like meant to be.
Yeah.
And it every time we get together, something happens, something great happens. And
Well, I have to say, you sound wonderful.
thank you.
You do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to
Sticking
it.
to it. Brian is the lead singer.
I'm the lead singer, and I wasn't being aloof. I was just so busy at the time. I'm a general contractor, so I could never seem to make it on a Sunday. I wasn't trying to be, difficult. Although I know I am. But no, so I've been, like I said before, playing since I was young. Thatcher and I think I was 19. Thatcher was like 15. His cousin Jamie, who's a phenomenal guitar player, lives in Austin, Texas now and plays out there, got us together, his cousin Jamie. And we started jamming together then for a little bit, and then kind of did different things. And then Jamie was in a band that I was doing sound and lights for, and I kind of got him into the band. So he was like, hey, you should go jam with my cousin Thatcher. He's looking for a band. And he was probably 22 at that point. I was probably 24. And we just, from that point on, have always played together. So
Well, how long have you been as Calamity?
only about, 4 years now, maybe about 4 years. We started forming around 13, started gigging by 15 or so, and then, then just started regular gigging. The band kind of coalesced into what we believe it's going to be, over the past year or two, and really started going. So, like I said, we were in another original band. We liked his last name so much, Zembo. We called it Zembo, and we played around the area in Boston sometimes. But then that, we all raised our kids and did all that. And then I just recently, in the past like 5 or 6 years, got back into it again, kind of like my dad after he retired.
Yeah, exactly.
He's happy.
Thank you. Is this on?
Fine.
Okay. Name's Harry Teachman, and I've been playing the pedal steel for way too long. I got a call from a gentleman that I played in a country band, and they said this band was looking for a pedal steel player. They did originals and covers, so I got in touch with Jim, and he said, "Well, get together and come down, and listen to the band, and see what you think." So we came to the club one night and listened to you guys, and this is cool. And usually country music is where this thing resides, the pedal steel, but I think it's a good fit for this band. Now, if we can just get somebody to play it right, we'd be all set.
He's being modest. He was just named Rhode Island's best pedal steel player this year by the
Oh, great. Yeah.
Music Performers Association. So I mean, he's very modest.
Modest.
As are most of the guys in the band. They're very talented.
And last but not least,
I'm Thatcher. I play drums in the band. Like Brian said, we've been playing together for, almost 30 years or so. And, Brian, I love to play with Brian because he writes some really great original music, and he sort of mines from some of the best sounds which I think, some of the best rock music was in the 70s and late 60s. So, I really feel like we have a nice conglomeration of various Americana.
it's my pleasure. The music was great, and we hope the audience enjoyed. And we'll be right back with featured writer and columnist Lauren Daley.
Say, I got to leave this town today. I got the money, but I have to stay. I got 2 nights of memory here with you. So much I want to say, I just can't do. I say, hey, I got the money, but I have to go. I say, hey, I got the money, but I just don't know. Yeah, yeah. Tell you, but I'm in despair. I said, my mind is racing all about. So much I want to say, I have to shout and say, hey, hey, oh. I get the money, but I have to go. I said, hey, oh. I got the money, but I just don't know, yeah, yeah. Today's change everything. I was alone, a feather on the wind. I said, now I'm so torn away from you. So much I want to say, I just can't lose. You said, hey, hey, oh. I got the money, but I have to go. I said, hey, oh. I got the money, but I just don't know. I see you again. I cannot take the chance, I just can't win. I got 2 hours to find you here with me. So much I want to say, I have to flee. I said, hey, hey, oh. I got the money, but I have to go. I said, hey, hey, oh. I got the money, but I just don't know. I said, hey, oh. I got the money, but I have to go. I said, hey, oh. Forget that money, girl, I love you so, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, to Arts Alive. It's my pleasure now to introduce you to Lauren Daley. If you haven't already met Lauren through her columns, she's a featured columnist and a feature writer for the Globe, the Boston Globe, the New Bedford Standard Times, and there may be other publications, I'm not sure of.
Those two mainly, but a few others
maybe. Those two
maybe,
mainly, yeah. And she's a local lady, which is great, right? That's a very nice thing to be and to have, and writing about all kinds of things, but particularly doing a lot of writing around, ironically, around music, because we have musical guests today, the Calamity Brain group. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what you like about the writing, sort of the writing business, so to speak.
Okay, well, I went to Stonehill for English, and my first interest was poetry. I wanted to be a poet.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, lyrics are a form of poetry, right? Yeah.
And so I studied English there and got into the student newspaper, the Summit. I started writing for them, doing a column, and then more like feature reporting. And then I was a features editor there. And I really just fell in love with newspapers through the Summit. And then I got an internship at the Brockton Enterprise.
Yeah.
In the Patriot Ledger. And then when I graduated, I started working at the Standard Times. And now I freelance for the Standard Times. I do the Book Lovers column and the Spotlight column that runs in Coaston.
Right, yeah.
And so the Book Lovers column actually just moved to Monday. So if people are looking for it, it's not.
Well, it changes.
Yeah.
It changes with the paper and all of it. So
yeah.
I think the Brockton Enterprise and the Quincy Patriot Ledger, if I'm not mistaken, are they all owned now by the Gannett Company, along with the Standard Times? And,
Yep.
So they pretty much own this whole block from Providence to
Right,
Newport and down into the southeast area. Yeah, which is an interesting change in the way.
It's true. It's a lot of sister papers,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Papers that were once I don't want to use the word enemies, but that were, at loggerheads,
Competition or-
very,
yeah.
very competitive with each other, are now working together,
Right,
sometimes
yeah,
as
yeah.
one,
Yeah,
which is
sharing
very
stories, yeah.
interesting, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the Globe and your involvement with them, the Boston Globe, and some of the features that you've written, which have been fabulous pieces. I see them on you when they're posted in the
Oh,
press
great.
as well
Yeah,
as in
thank
the
you.
paper.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun. The Globe, well, I grew up reading the Globe, and it was always something I just always wanted to write for. It was like the paper that we had in the house.
Right, yeah.
And my dad was a big Globe reader. And so I started writing for them. That's been really fun. I do mostly music, travel. But my favorite thing is doing interviewing bands, and which is odd because you just had a band on too, and that's like my thing that I like to do.
Yes, yeah. And tell us about some of them, the groups that you have. I mean, we've got some big names there.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask about that because I actually printed out like a few that I could remember if you want to like go through any to kind of remind me. But David Crosby was a fun one. Graham Nash, Pete Townsend. I've got to talk to like a lot of people that interest me.
A couple of like backstories of something somebody might not know about someone, or how you found someone to be.
geez.
You had maybe had one impression and now there's another. Once you meet them and talk to them and
Oh, that's kind of hard. Okay. Well, just looking at this list. Okay, so Billy Joel was one who was.
one of my all-time favorites. by the
Yeah, I
way.
thought
Oh,
he might be
love.
like a little, I don't know, standoffish or like too big to like talk to me kind of a thing. But
Yeah.
he was like so down to earth and so like talking to me about motorcycles and just, it's funny how like some people are just really completely down to earth. Like you meet them and you kind of realize doing this that like everybody's just a person. You know what I mean? Like people
Right.
think like, oh, it's big names and, like Art Garfunkel or like so-and-so, like, is it, but talking to musicians, you realize like everybody's just a person. Everybody has a human story. Everybody has, and that's what you kind of try to get at is like that's what I like to get at is their human side. Benmont Tench was a nice one. He was from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, just right before Tom Petty died. And I was hoping to interview Tom Petty, and they told me that I was going to be interviewing Benmont Tench, who's the keyboardist. And I kind of had my hopes set on Tom Petty, so it was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess.
Little disappointed, yeah.
And then I started talking to him, and he was just like the coolest guy ever. Like, it was like, he kind of just like blew my mind, and like, I became like such a fan of his afterwards. Like personally, I follow him on Instagram now, and he was just such a nice, cool guy talking about what was going on like in the room at the time, like what records he was playing, what he was drinking. He was drinking some Italian soda, or tell me about it.
Now, how do you engage these people into this interview? How does that? Do you reach out personally to them? Is it through the paper?
Like a little bit like that.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit like that. I just try to look for people who interest me. It's a
Well, and that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally. If it's
Yeah.
an interest to you, you're going to get more out of it.
rather
And so
than-
will the
I don't.
readers. and-
Yeah, like I wouldn't just reach out to somebody that I don't know anything about.
Right. Who do you have recently? You've got somebody that's coming up now, I think. I saw
Well, I
a
had just talked to
post.
Tom Rush
Yeah.
for the Globe. He's awesome. He was telling me about the pot brownie that he had, and he was like, tripping out, walking down Greenwich Village, and he saw well, I guess like the brownie hit, and all these lights were out on the street, and he didn't know why, and they were filming a movie, but he didn't like understand why, and like a woman started screaming and like ran out of a house, and then like Clint Eastwood ran out of a house.
And he's in the middle of it all.
Yeah, and he was like, "What is going on?" And some guy like jumped over the barricade and like tackled Clint Eastwood. And I guess he told me it was like in the paper the next day because the guy thought he was rescuing the woman, and they were really just trying to film a scene.
Wow. Yeah. I
But-
guess they hadn't cleared the set enough
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
rid of all those
apparently,
people that
yeah.
were around and walking around. And so you've really found this to be a very nice niche for yourself as far as the writing and the area of interest. And
Yeah, I mean, and then I do like the book lovers column, which is totally separate from these guys.
From the features, yeah.
I do it's music. I mainly focus on music and books. Those are like my two big passions, and like
Right.
those are the two things that I could write about like all day.
I know that you've got this whole book club that you've
Right,
developed.
okay, so the Century
in the area,
Club,
the
right.
Century Club, yeah.
A lot of people in the area, more and more taking part. So 7 years ago, I challenged people who read the column to read 100 books, and if they read 100, they would get into the Century Club. And if you read 50, or 50 to 100, you get into the half century. 25 to 49 would get you in the quarter century. And so the first year, there was like 2 people that did it, and like I was one of them. Like,
Yeah.
And it's grown and grown and grown. I think this year we've had like, I haven't counted yet, I would say like maybe 100 people that did it. Which is crazy, which is great, and that's, you know,
Well, it
it's
is.
the most
It is
you can-
great. Yes,
yeah.
it is.
And it's a lot of the emails I get from people are so touching too with the book column. I find that the book column has really become a community.
Of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to have, I don't know when this is going to air, but we are going to have a get together at Partner Store for the first time for all the Century Club people to meet on February 22nd.
Yeah, this is airing in February, so that's
Okay.
that's great to have that. No, to have that information out there
Okay,
is
yeah,
great,
so that's
right.
February 22nd is
Yeah,
the meetup.
and they'll be at Partners in Westport.
Yep.
And I, you know, of course, I'm a big advocate for reading. Obviously, you can't, you know, reading is one and writing is number two. And
Right,
as far
right,
as
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
concerned, those are the two
Yeah.
connects, and it's very hard to do much of anything at all in life without both of those.
Right.
So I'm happy for you, and I'm very happy that book column too has done so well, and that you're.
Yeah, it really has. The other thing I wanted people to know was that it just moved from Sunday to Monday.
Right.
So if
you
you're
had
looking at
mentioned that in the beginning, yeah.
right, yeah. So people have emailed me looking for it, but
And that'll be in the Standard Times.
Yeah, yep.
Right.
No, it's always in the same times. Yep, yep.
Anybody upcoming in the way of the musicians? Anything planned for an upcoming story? Give us a little bit of tidbit on that one.
Well, I just talked to Todd Snyder. That's my next one that I'm gonna be working on. So he's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they all are, and they've got a very good writer in you to
thank
bring
you.
their stories to life, which is ever so important. So
Oh,
it
thanks.
was a great pleasure to have you on, Lauren.
Thank you.
And maybe you'll come and visit us another time.
Absolutely.
With some more information.
Yes.
And we'd like to take this opportunity now to thank everyone for joining us and sharing time with us. And we'll see you again next time.